It's time for another chess classic. Like and subscribe for more entertainment. Control of the center with d4, preparing to develop other pieces and creating space for the knight to potentially attack the king side.
This is a book move. The opening is called Indian defense.
This is a book move. The opening is called Indian defense, knight's variation.
Pawn to d5 is best.
Pawn to c4.
Preparing to develop the queenside pawns and support the pawn to d5 pawn. Pawn to c6 also slightly weakens the pawn to d5 pawn structure, but it's a common move in the three knights variation, aiming to control the pawn to d4 square and create space for the bishop on c4.
Knight to c3 is best. This develops a knight.
Pawn captures on c4 is the best move.
Knight to e5.
Attacking the knight on f6, preparing to develop the rest of the pieces and putting pressure on black's position.
Pawn captures on d5.
Pawn to e6 is the best move.
Pawn to e4 is the best move.
Knight captures on c3.
Pawn captures on c3.
Bishop to e6 is best.
Bishop to d3.
Knight to d7 is best. This offers a trade. This develops a knight.
Knight to f3 is the best move.
Knight captures on e5 is best. This is a trade.
I played pawn captures on e5 to challenge black's pawn structure and create space for my pieces to develop. The pin on black's knight on pawn to f6 also makes it difficult for them to defend their pawn on f5.
Queen to f5 pins the black knight on c3, preparing to launch a potential attack on the queenside. This move also puts pressure on the black pawn on d5, making it difficult for them to play. d4.
Bishop to d2 is good. This defends a pawn on c3. This develops a bishop. Queen to c2 is best. This defends a pawn and pawn on g4 and c3.
Rook to d8 is excellent. This attacks the bishop. This develops a rook. Pawn to g6 is best.
Queen to e2 is a solid move, putting pressure on black's position and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also pins black's knight on f6, making it difficult for them to play an f6 for.
Bishop to c8.
Kingside castle is best.
Pawn to e6 is good. Pawn to g6 is best.
Rook to f3 is good. King to h1 is best.
Bishop to e7 is the best move.
King to h1 is best.
Queen to c7.
Bishop to c4 is a strong move that attacks black's knight on c6, preparing to develop the rest of the pieces and putting pressure on the pawn to d5 pawn. It also pins black's bishop on c6, making it difficult for them to play bc5.
Queen to e7 pins the black queen on f7, preparing to launch a potential attack on the black king. This move also supports the pawn storm on the queenside, putting pressure on black's position.
Pawn to f5 is best. This offers a trade.
King to d7 is a defensive move, preventing the potential check on the king by black's pawn on f5. It also prepares to develop the queenside pieces and supports the pawn structure on the queenside.
Rook to g3.
Rook from file d to g8.
Bishop to g5 is excellent. This attacks the queen. This move gains a tempo. Rook to d1 is best. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
Preparing to develop the kingside pieces and support the pawn on f5, pawn to f6 also slightly weakens the kingside pawn structure, but it's a common move in the Slav defense to challenge black's control of the pawn to f5 square.
Bishop captures on e6 check.
King to c7.
Pawn captures on f6 is the best move.
Queen to d6 is the best move.
Bishop to f4 check pins the black king on f7, preparing to launch a potential kingside attack. This move also puts pressure on the black pawn on f6, potentially creating weaknesses in the kingside. The game is over. White wins.